Hey guys, we're here with another video and got some very cool stuff for you today. We'll get to that in a minute. Thanks for tuning in again, and I hope you're enjoying this series so far. As always, with me today is Billy, and we're going to be going deep on on one particular theme today, which I think you'll find really interesting. We've got some very cool stuff planned. So, Billy, you want to say hi and we get started?
Sure. Hey guys, it's good to be back. We have some really cool stuff planned for today. Richard and I, before we hopped on here, we're just talking about a subject that, when mastered, gives you incredible power, but unfortunately, most guys just do it completely wrong, and it has the exact opposite effect, which is it scares girls away. And that subject is teasing, something that Richard is an absolute master of. So I wanted to start off. I wanted, I wanted to start this off by asking you, Rich, what are you going for? What's the purpose? Why would you tease a woman? When would you do it? And how do you know if you did it right?
Cool. I think it's probably something like, I mean, what we've been doing with this series is we've been talking about things that I do right now. Yeah. So we've had a lot of conversations where it's like, okay, you're either going, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, actually, I'm doing this. And maybe we're finding things that I didn't write about in the book or that we didn't cover fully or at all in self-attraction. And it's stuff that I do now. So it wasn't something that I taught until that point. So we've had to do a lot of thinking about why I'm actually doing it and why it works and whatever. So the first thing about teasing is it's actually quite fun for me. So it helps my mood. In the girl, it creates some emotion and some different emotions where she's gonna feel a little bit of anger maybe and a lot of humor, and it's gonna get her into that. I guess it's also something that shows that you're a little bit take it or leave it. You're not just trying to massage her ego and tell her nice things all the time. It goes hand in hand with, not giving too many compliments and other things that I have taught before. The effect, when you're doing it right, it should be that she's like, but she's laughing, so it's kind of a bit of shock, but it's laughing. And if she's kind of sassy, she should be teasing you back. I think there are some girls that I don't tease, and they're the kind of, very, very good girls, the, virgin librarian, whatever it might be, and it might just completely fall flat with her. But the reason why teasing is so cool is that the more difficult to get the girl, so think of the supermodel that's getting hit on 1,000 times a day by absolutely everyone. The hotter the girl, the stronger the effect that the teasing will have. And if it's the kind of girl that teasing wouldn't work on, and you're not going to do it, you really probably don't need it, because you can just be, a gentleman and a nice guy and have a good conversation, connect and whatever, and she's going to be into it. Did that answer the questions?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I'm curious what the difference between teasing is and the kind of classically taught concept of negging.
Yeah, I tried. I mean, I watched David D'Angelo Mystery Method back in the early days, so I got the idea into my head that I needed to do certain things as part of the
Hmm.
pickup, otherwise it wouldn't work. And I remember I was talking to a stripper, and I said, you've just lost 2 points. Now you've got 6 points or something." And she said, and she was just like, "What?" And it completely blew it. And I remember saying, "Nice hair, looks like a bird's nest." And then she's insulted. I'm like, "What? I like birds' nests," or something, something like that. It's just completely out of place. And, you're the hottest guy I've spoken to you know, in the last 3 minutes, like this. And it just came off as try hard, calculated, and um, it's almost. She could say you're an asshole, or she could say it's not funny, right? So it's just an insult.
So,
It's making her think you're giving her a compliment and then taking it away. It's just bad. What's the point?
so something when you just listed all those examples that came to my mind, and we spoke a little bit before this.
Oh, your hands model, yeah? She said she's a model. Oh, you're a hands model. It's not stupid. I think I said that once, and she was like, no. Catwalk model. Oh, okay. Well, it's awful.
So something that I do know about the way you tease, because we spoke about this prior, and the difference that I see from how you do it and the examples you just gave, is the ones you do, and we'll get into it, but they all seem to be situationally relevant. There's a reason you're saying it. It's connected to the environment. It seems spontaneous. It is spontaneous.
Yes.
And if you come out talking about some sort of point system that she has no idea, if you start talking about birds' nests, which she has no idea about, if you the last, I'm not even going to touch the last 3 minutes thing because that's just so cringeworthy. But
they all seem a bit calculated. They're like lines, and they don't have they don't have relevancy, and they don't have a mix of emotions. They just have the negative emotion.
Right.
And I think it could work on a very insecure girl, maybe. But if you could, basically, if it works, you could have got that girl anyway. So it doesn't work. Sometimes you can be using game, and you think, oh wow, this is great game, but it's actually not. You probably would have got her if you didn't use that thing. It sucks, and you only find out if a technique or line or whatever it is, you only find out if it's good if you're using a situation where you wouldn't normally get the girl. She wouldn't normally like you that much, and it's having an effect.
Do you have any examples of times where that happened and you were like, oh, geez, that worked?
What, when I've done something good or bad?
Yeah, when you've done something good with a girl who just was not going to be into you. She was giving you all the wrong signals. You made some sort of move. Next thing you know, you've got her.
I can think of many situations where I turned it around, and it wouldn't actually always be with teasing, but it often is with a playful element of it. So we were just talking before the call, right, about how if a girl turned her back, and you might say, "Oh, well, you do have a wonderful back with a fantastic arch there. I can see why you wanted to show me it." So it's the extreme example of a girl just turning her back and she just blanks you completely. And you deliver that line and you might just see a little smirk on her face. The other big difference, while I remember actually as well, is when guys neg, they often do it with a straight face. And I should say when I'm doing my teasing, I never do it with a straight face. I'm showing in my face that I'm playing. I've got a playful... we discussed my 6 different faces last time, right? But it's the playful face or smirky face, whatever. Mischievous, something like that. It's not just delivered with a straight face. And I think when they say about the bird's nest and whatever, it's delivered straight, and that's another reason why it falls flat.
Gotcha. That's something that, it's hugely important. Guys go out, they're really serious about doing game. They've got their the face on them like they're trying to solve a complicated math problem. Yeah. And they start delivering...
Disarm a bomb or something.
Yeah, and then they start delivering very risky comedic lines, and people are just confused, and they're not tied to what's happening. So, well, the other kind of difference I think, right, is with the kind of classical pickup stuff. It's you're only supposed to do it right away, and the purpose, right? Isn't it? Doesn't it take place in just the first phase, and then after that you're done? There's no more teasing or no more negging. It's you come in, you deliver the neg. And then you...
Well, they say that the neg is for the HB10, right? And it's to, there's certain things you do with the HB10 because, it's necessary with her, but you don't need to do it with HB6s. Yeah. So the neg is one of the first things you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And as well though, but like once you do it, then you're supposed to move through and not go back to it, right? Because then you're in connection or whatever they call it,
Yeah, it's
and you
like a
mustn't.
one-off thing.
Yeah, and that's
But
that's not how you do it, right?
well, no, teasing applies all the way through as long as it's getting the the nice effects, which is she's feeling something, she's enjoying it. I like being teased. If a girl's smart, do you remember there was that girl in New York? We were in the club and I had this Motorola with the round screen, and I thought it was quite cool. And I took it out of my pocket, and she was like, "What the hell's that? Winston Churchill's pocket watch?" And I was like, "That's brilliant," So I was like, that I even like it. It just girls often aren't trying to be too smart or come up with stuff, right? Because they think they're beautiful. They can just stand around. The guys are going to work for them. But I think we tease each other, right, as guys and things like that. So everyone likes to be teased, and it shows intelligence and some elements of take it or leave it, and power and comfort and whatever else. And it's something also that usually happens between friends. So if you do it early in an interaction, it kind of accelerates, where you are in the process with a girl. So it's something that goes all the way through. And of course, even in a relationship, I'm sure, we all tease our girlfriends, and it helps the relationship stay interesting and fun.
Yep. Okay, and just so the purpose of teasing is what? What's the underlying
It's attraction building,
attraction? So
and it shows positive qualities of yourself.
got it. Okay, great. So take me through just some specific teases you might do. Um, give me some examples.
Um,
Talk to me.
I'm
What do you do?
I might be with a girl and she's got, I'm looking at her hair for some reason. It's nice or whatever. And I ask her if she washed it, if she washed it today. And then I go, maybe even smell it. Really? You washed it today? Or something like that. But I'm laughing the whole time, so it's okay. We might be talking about movies or something, and I say I watched Interstellar or something, and she says she says she watched it or not, or any movie, and I ask if she understood it. I asked very seriously, like, did you understand? And she says, yeah. I said, really? Come on, you can tell me like that.
Well, to be fair, I didn't understand Interstellar.
Interstellar, right? Maybe that's a bad example, but even still, it'll make her feel. I mean, if you don't understand it, you might feel a little inadequate. But it's actually more funny if you choose something stupid like
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, or what's a really dumb film? Step Up to the Street, or whatever, these dance films, or Fast and Furious, or some shit like that. Ask if they understood it. To kind of tease them about, if they're going to the bathroom or something, and tease them about doing selfies, or, their Instagram, like, anytime they're checking their hair or something, say, oh, is it selfie time? Do you need a moment? Don't worry, I can, take your time, or something like that. And basically paint this picture that they are, just chewing bubble gum, taking selfies, doing their manicures, and not doing anything serious. And if they say they're doing business, or they have something, then you can really tease them about what they're doing in their job or something. So say, that you just paint them that they're making the tea, or that they're surfing the web all day, or doing the director's dry cleaning and stuff like that. Especially if they're big, if they're a manager.
What are if we're typing these things, so you've got things that are implying that she's just like a shallow kind of party girl kind of a thing, just not a serious person.
Yeah. Pointing out men she should get with as well.
Okay, so how might you do that?
So, there's just some funny guy, and I he might look funny, he might be dancing crazy because he's wasted, he might just, look ridiculous or whatever, and I might position her close to him and pretend like even if he's got his back to us, I might even go close to him and say I'm gonna like grab his ass and then blame it on her. I might, if the guys are kind of all lurking around, I say I'm gonna go toilet so these guys can all hit on at you, and they're just like, no, stay. Asking, how many men do you know here? Things like that. How many men of these men have you been on dates with? If they say anything about exes, like, I could ask one of my questions, like, are you still friends with your exes? And she's like, well, maybe, yeah, in general, yeah. I said, what, all of them? Like that, presuming it's like 150 different guys. And it's spontaneous. I mean, those are examples.
You mentioned something about mentioning Tinder and the like.
Yeah, if they get an alert on their phone or something like that, I say, what's that? Your Tinder going off, or your whatever dating app it would be. Yeah.
Gotcha. So it seems to me the two underlying premises I've heard from you now is she's silly and stupid, and she sleeps with lots of men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one that I think we discussed was almost classism, implying that she's kind of not poor, but like lower class.
Yeah, I like asking where they're from, and then they say like some place that's not and I'm like, oh, well, okay, like that. So you're basically, you're from the countryside, or you've got a farm or whatever, and let me hear your accent again. Oh, yeah, I can hear it now. Things like that. If she says some words that are, I don't know, if she speaks a little bit street, I accuse her. I say, oh, you've got to teach me this way you speak, this kind of street slang you use, and it's so quaint or whatever, something like that. Making fun of place she lives, and if she's born in the capital, wherever you are, the big city, I'm sure her parents weren't, or someone wasn't. So you can always go back, far enough that she's from a village.
Got it.
I guess also her education, even. Like, I didn't go to university. I will tease a girl for going to the dumb university. If she studied law, but she didn't go to Yale or whatever, then like it's like the 10th university. I think you can. He said, "Oh, you weren't smart enough for." Oh, okay, Princeton. Not Princeton, no. Oh, okay. Well, I guess not everyone can go. What are you gonna do?
Got it. So you're really setting up. You're really, it's interesting. I was just thinking, for some reason.
And I don't say I went to Harvard. If she asked me, I'd say I didn't go. But if I did, I would have gone.
Right. Well, that leads me exactly into what I was about to say, which is you brought up earlier a concept that I haven't heard of in years, but that is definitely a foundation of everything that the community became, which is cocky funny.
Mm.
And cocky funny is something that
it's not talked about anymore, right? It was one David D'Angelo DVD set that doesn't really tell you much. It was
that was the whole point of his book, right? Double Your Dating. It was like you got to go out there and you got to be cocky and funny because that's how guys who were good with girls were.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing there is everything. So someone could say, well, what you're saying now is just cocky funny, but it's not because from what I remember, the cocky funny basically says, like, I'm cool and I'm too good for you, whereas what you say is you imply that you're cool and too good for her, but you never say it, so she can't pick that apart. The cocky funny thing.
I give her opportunity to tease me back,
of course,
and then we get into something, and it's quite nice, But I don't. I definitely don't. I don't raise my status, and I don't.
You just lower hers.
I don't say anything. Yeah.
You just lower hers, and there's nothing she can do about it. Like you're not giving her any. You're not giving her any content to work with. Like I think back to like all the cocky funny lines, and you would see students at the boot camps and stuff saying them.
Mm.
and like they can fail. They're really easy to fail with because
Yeah, they're
a
quite high
guy could be
risk.
like, "I'm too good for you" or something, and the girl could be like,
Hmm.
"No, you're not."
Yeah,
Eh.
you can say, "Oh, I'm not going to introduce you to my friends. You might embarrass me," and she might be like, um, "Right." But I would say it's something like, "Now, look, you're going to meet my friends. Um, one of them is actually a prince. So when you meet him, you need to do this kind of courtesy. Do you know how to do it? Show me how you do it, like this. Okay, and my other friend, he's very normal, like 99% of the time, but sometimes he just flips. So don't make eye contact with him in his left eye. All right, just kind of don't like that because sometimes he just goes crazy and anything. And you can make some elaborate joke or something like that. And so I'm going to introduce you to my friends, but don't get wasted like last time. Don't be down in tequilas, something like that. It has to be done in a way that she knows is playful and so just that example that I remember from that. I'm going to introduce, I'm not sure you're cool enough to introduce to my friends or
Yeah,
something.
hands off the merchandise.
Touch it,
Or
don't
you're
touch
gonna
what you
have to
can't
pay me
afford,
if
or
you're gonna.
pay
I'm
me
gonna have to
five
charge for
dollars
that.
for each touch. Yeah, and she's like, what? And you're
What?
like, oh, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Um.
I accuse girls, like, sometimes my pants, my fly zipper's undone or something. I'm like, what have you done? I didn't even see how you did that. So I've got a potentially embarrassing moment. Yeah, I've got my zipper undone. So what have you done? Look at this.
Uh huh.
When did you do that? Something like that.
Well, so it
Accusing
sounds
her of
there like
things.
you're the kind of punchline is she's a pervert.
This too. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. One line that I did use that I think was from someone was maybe it was even us, but it was like, "Were you spying on me last night in the bathroom or something? I recognize you. You were up the tree outside my house spying on me in the bathroom." That one was quite funny. But yeah, accusing her of being a pervert and sexual and when you catch her eyes looking down, especially if you can hold something there or have some, like if your phone's lit up and it's by your crotch, and then she's naturally going to look there because there's like the light of your phone, and you say, "Are you looking at my? Sorry, where were you looking just then? Come on, baby, come on." It's
I
not.
can imagine that we'll get a punch on the arm from her.
Yes, I like the punch on the arm. Yeah, obviously. Or the shocked. I can't believe you just said that.
Hmm.
But I like it.
And I think it's important to know what you're supposed to be looking for as a response, right? Because a lot of guys will go out and deliver the things that they're learning, but never know
Yeah.
what to look for to know whether or not it succeeded. And
Okay. Yeah. So you look for like the banter back, her trying to get you back. You look for the shocked expression. You look for the hit on the arm. You look for the laugh and like, haha, you got me kind of thing. Any of that is good. Her being offended and just being silent, looking at you like, what? That's the only thing that could be bad, but it doesn't really happen.
and so if that were to happen, how would you recover from it?
I said, "Oh, baby, you're so sweet. I was only playing," and give her a hug. Like it's not. You just know that she's very fragile. Then I guess after
Hmm.
that, very fragile ego. But I don't think it would have blown it.
Right. And which is exactly the opposite of response of what I can imagine someone who's backpedaling doing. They would try and do it more and more, harder and harder.
No,
Fail.
occasionally. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of girls, and I think girls are more easily offended than most men. Although I do have a friend that I think is quite sensitive. But I think if I talk to, my friends, and sometimes I go a little bit too far. I did it just a few days ago, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, darling." I just give her a hug, and you know,
Do you do
I,
things around? I'm just thinking back to it. Do you do things around food that she's going to eat all the?
that she's going to eat loads of food or throw
Yeah.
it everywhere, be messy. Of course, I love it. If there's some bread, I might put some crumbs on her side or something. And then when they take the plates, I'm like, "Oh God, look at this mess you made. I'm so sorry," like to the waiter or something like that.
Right.
And also, if she does something that I can classify as sexual, and I'll be like, darling, please, there's children around, or please not in front of these people. If she makes like clanks her glass or cutlery or something, I'd be like, I'm so sorry, to the other tables around, but said not loud enough that everyone would hear, but so that she's embarrassed. I think it's incredibly funny. I'm so sorry about her.
Yep.
Yeah, I've probably used 1,000 different teases in the past 3 months.
Are there physical things you do
Um,
that make girls laugh, that kind of put them in this teasing frame? Maybe a nonverbal tease?
um, Probably.
We will get back. We will get back to that.
I think I do a lot of non-verbal, physical stuff with them. I think I taught in stealth, right, how I grab their belt hooks and can kind of pull them around, make them do silly dances. How if I'm behind them, I don't do this kind of grinding dance bullshit. I grab their arms and kind of make them do a silly dance, make them wave at men. Like, why are you waving at all the men? Stuff like that. I like walking down the road with a girl and I have my arm around her and I just lift her arm at their elbow when a man passes and she does that. And I'm like, why are you waving at that guy? Can you control yourself? Imagine if you do that when you're with me, what you're doing, the rest of the time. You're just. I'm dating a girl now who I like a lot, and I accuse her of being like an nymphomaniac all the time. And yeah, no.
So
Jesus.
So she can't handle herself in public.
Yeah.
She is just constantly obsessed with sleeping with as many men as possible.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
She's. I mean, the term you use when we talked, which is kind of a British term, but she's essentially just a slag. Not much going on.
Yeah.
Pretty shallow.
She's watching cat videos on YouTube all day. Or
Yep.
Sitting on Instagram. Yeah. Celebrities.
So this all sets a really almost a dominant frame up very playfully.
Yeah. The thing to remember is I'm not being arrogant about myself, which I think is necessary. I'm being a gentleman. I am opening the door for her. I am, I'm doing that gentlemanly stuff, and I'm mixing it with, I'm close to her physically, and I'm keeping. I don't use the physical push pull. I think because I think that can be quite brutal. I might do it from time to time, but I wouldn't do both together. The back turn, the leaving her alone, the whatever. I'm not checking out other girls at this time. It can't have. There can't be too many things going on. You have to show that you're a nice guy and you will be good to her. You're not. You can't be an asshole, right?
Yeah.
You need to keep the other stuff in check so that she really thinks you're gentle. I put the girl's coat on for her always. Might pull her chair out when she sits down. Definitely open the door for her. Leave her in places. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I remember back in the day, like the number one thing you would see would be a guy who read that he should nag or do cocky and funny, and then that was, what's the quote? If all you've got a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
So like he's got one tool.
Yeah.
And he'll go out and he'll talk to a girl and he'll deliver his first line, and by the grace of God, it will work.
Yeah, it might be looking great for 5 minutes,
and then he'll just keep doing it. And it loses all of its power. So my question for you is, if you had to, I guess just a key distinction for guys out there to know is that even though you're a master of this, it's just a piece of a broader personality and a broader tool set that you use with women. So
it's something that I didn't used to do, and I had boring dates and boring interactions. It's one of the pieces that I added, and now my interactions are interesting and fun for both of us.
Yes.
And It's not something I overuse.
Right.
Something to remember is the more, if you do this, 20% of the time or whatever it might be, if you say something genuine and sincere, it has way more effect because you've taken away all of her other, you've kind of made fun of a lot of things about her, and then if there's something you're like, you know what, that's really cool, or you've got a good point there, that's actually really smart, something like that, and you say it with a straight face, it has a lot more effect. Or if you have a connected conversation, then so is some extreme thing that pings and causes emotion is really good, and it helps then the plain conversation. Even if you do some of that, and then you're just trying to get to know her and asking these simple questions, but you're attentive and you haven't got your playful face. You've got your serious face number 2, yeah, your serious face, or your listening face, face 5, and you have these faces, and then even in this dull part of the conversation, it actually makes that really powerful, and she's actually trying to then show something real about her because she understands that you've been making fun of her, so she wants to show her good points, and she'll actually be working hard, and it makes something that could otherwise be dull actually really important in the interaction. So it brings up the other areas of your conversation,
For
just by being there.
for some reason, the image that just popped into my head when I was listening to you was this concept of kind of like a horror film.
Yeah.
And if you have like scary monsters jumping out every 10 seconds, it's not going to be scary anymore. No. But the way that it's spaced out, when there hasn't been anything super scary for a while, even the most boring shots are suddenly very tense.
They even have those shots where nothing happens, but it seems like something will. And then you're kind of on balance, and you don't know if that's going to be another shot where nothing's going on, or whether it will. And then they throw you off again by it's like daytime, and they're just going in the car. And then it's on the windshield or something like that. And you just weren't ready at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, this reinforces area of your game, and I would say that conversely, other areas of your game reinforce this, right? So we did that whole conversation on deep connection.
Yeah.
And if you're really able to do that stuff, this stuff works a whole lot better. Again, right? Because of that kind of dynamic personality that you were just talking about. You can hit them with serious. You can hit them with boring. You can hit them with playful. You can hit them with gentleman. You can hit them with asshole. And it's just that state of unknowing that, from observation, seems to create a lot of excitement in the women in your life.
Yeah, actually, I think each piece, it doesn't, if you have a piece worth 10 points, it doesn't just add 10 points, it adds a few points to all the other pieces as well. So, yeah, and even I think if then I chill out and don't do anything, she doesn't think that it's because I've got nothing to say or I've run out of things to say or I'm boring. She thinks that she's fucked up. She's like, why is he not doing anything now? So even then, being lazy and not saying anything, not doing anything, not responding, not connecting, she's like, shit, so yeah, it makes even that work. Yeah.
If you had to guess, and I've pushed you on this before and you never really answer, because to your credit, you make sure that everything you're saying is like 100% legit in your experience. But what if you had to put like a ratio? We're baking a cake here. What percentage of this teasing comprises the words out of your mouth? You say 100 things.
Part. What and not body language and stuff, or what?
Well, no. Well, let's think more more about intention.
What I say is teasing.
What percentage of what you do is teasing versus meant to connect versus meant to
Well, I think the connection and stuff takes longer.
Mm-hmm.
So it would necessarily, and the tease is very fast, right? So all of the examples I gave are not long-winded
Well,
stories. They're
let's
quick.
say we
They're quick
normalized.
things.
Let's say we normalized. Never again.
Uh,
Let's say we normalized
ah,
like per chunk, right? So like each chunk. So you could
okay.
do a tease, connection, whatever, and they're all equal no matter how
Uh,
long they take.
then it probably is worth more, like a third or something.
Okay, so
I don't
probably.
know. It's also much more highly relevant in the nighttime with a savvy, sassy girl. If there's some sweet 18-year-old student that's never talked to a man before and she's a virgin, she's really not suitable and ready for teasing in most cases. So it's really for that tough girl, in the bar or club, or for the girl that has a lot of options. You're meeting her in the daytime and she's not really responsive because she's got a lot going on, and then the teasing will be powerful. But and also it really aids towards sex because it's attraction building and connecting. Aids towards sex, but really aids towards soulmate girlfriend more.
Mm-hmm.
So depends what you're going for. And then the other stuff is, the mundanities, or her asking you things about yourself, or you revealing things about yourself is the rest.
So you'd say. So what if I said 33? A third of the time you're teasing her.
Mm-hmm.
A third of the time you're genuinely trying to get to know her and connect with
Yeah.
her, and
And
then
third other stuff.
third is other
It,
stuff, and
and again, yeah, I hate the question because it changes
of
over
course
time.
it's so dynamic.
I've met girls where it's all been about them, and then they've texted me and said, wait, you know everything about me. Next time you meet, I want to know a lot of things about you. And we meet, and she's already thought about it because she's told me about her previous relationship. She's told me about all of this, blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, now tell me, what about this? And it'll be, an hour only about me, even so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something dynamic, but in most cases you could probably use that ratio.
Yeah.
But it, of course, shouldn't be conscious, and depends on the goal, depends on the response you're getting. And as long as the temperature's high and things are good, stay there a little while, not too long. Don't be a one-trick pony, and try and show your other strengths. I think every guy has some natural strengths in conversation, I hope, or some areas that come easier to him than others, and you know go back and forth. And if you want to
What
do the horror movie thing, you can also keep her guessing, where you ask her something and then she doesn't know if you're going to tease her on it or be serious and connect on it, and it's quite nice.
what might some of those strengths be? I think that would be helpful to know.
I think an extrovert guy might be more naturally good at just the casual banter, not leaving gaps in the conversation, and making jokes. And the introverted guy might be good at listening and letting her speak and getting to know her like that. So I don't know. Each person has different things. The stand-up comedian, or the salesman, or um, the philosopher,
Mm-hmm.
theoretician, or whatever. Just whether it's listening or light conversation or heavy conversation.
Yeah, well, that's something that
Even storytelling in the very, very few rare cases.
yeah, if someone's a phenomenal storyteller, they should still tell stories. If they're not,
Yeah.
learning storytelling is probably
Yeah.
counterproductive.
I guess look at your conversations with your friends, right? And then you'll know what your strengths are. Like, what do you normally do? Are you normally like the listener? Are you normally leading the conversation? You're the one that keeps it light and fun and makes everyone happy? Are you the guy, whatever your strength is in your relationships with your friends, and what do you give to the conversation most of the time? That's going to be your strength.
Mm-hmm. And then
You just
you model your game around that.
you want to use that, and then you just want to add the other elements.
Mm-hmm. Something that I was intrigued by when I first met you was that you seemed to be basing you seem to not be basing what you did with women around who you thought you had to be. Um, you're a laid back, chilled out guy. So
Hmm.
when you talk to girls, you would be fairly laid back and chilled out. I didn't see you, it wasn't you and I sitting there and you're laid back and chilled out. And then you're like, oh, right, I have to go talk to this girl. And then all of a
Hey
sudden,
guys,
yeah, all of a sudden you're acting like someone else.
I did do it a little
Sure.
bit. I tried, there's like six girls, and you want to open all them. Like, hey guys, and you're looking all of them, you're doing the high energy thing, and they're all looking at you like, wow, who's this crazy guy? So I did do it a little bit, just to see, but it never felt very nice for me to be in that role, and it didn't inhibit my game to not do that. I had one paid training in pickup when I first started with a guy, and he told me I need to talk more loudly. And I would say after that time, I've never taken that advice, and it enables me to get closer to girls. I think we talked about it in New York that I'm on their level. I kind of sink my body down. I'll lean on a wall or whatever it is, or on a bar or a chair, whatever it is, to sink to their level and have that closer eye contact, have that more intimate thing instead of being like far away and towering over them and booming at them. Um, that's not a conversation, and it's not intimate. It's a show, which might be cool for mystery. Who wants to put on a show and show magic tricks and work the group and things like that. And it can also be effective, but I think it's less effective, and it definitely wasn't my characteristic. And I think a lot of guys that learn this are not natural extroverts or showmen or guys that excelled at acting, because actors are actually the best students we've ever had. They're comfortable on the stage, they're comfortable having eyes on them, they're comfortable, they very quickly learn how to use their body and whatever. So in general, they don't need it. Guys are more likely to be naturally like I am. So instead of approaching five girls, I would pick off my one,
Yep.
pick her off at a distance non-verbally, or pick her off at close range, pick off the two out of the five, because there's not five girls ever. You can't have five people having a conversation. It's three and two.
What I'm interested when you brought up the idea of actors being the best students. You mentioned a few things they do. Could you go a little bit more in depth on that? Because that's really interesting.
Yeah, so one thing an actor has is awareness over his whole body, which I have now, which means that I know I don't have any silly nervous tics. I know that when I'm with a girl, my eye contact is good enough. I know that my body's not standing in a way that makes me look gay or effeminate or whatever it is. So an actor can see alpha body language or whatever, and he can copy it. He can watch, an actor that he likes, and he can then model that actor's delivery and speech and body language and whatever it might be. If we tell him, he's rushing his words or whatever it might be, he can make very fast corrections because he's used to changing his presentation for different roles that he plays in acting. A lot of guys shit their pants when they have to talk to a girl in a coffee shop and it's quiet and everyone else is watching. An actor can think, well, I'm on the stage and I'm used to having eyeballs on me. And if it's a premiere, I don't know if people are going to like it, whatever, they're used to that. They're more okay with criticism because I think they have a lot of rejection when they go to castings. They can model really well. They're verbally very good, and I think acting training is something cool for guys to do. I think it'll be outside of the comfort zone. I think it'll give guys a lot to even do some weekend acting workshop. But definitely in the beginning, I did like, I don't know, maybe 4 days acting courses like at weekends, and I did model actors. If people look at the movie poster to Tom Cruise Last Samurai, I had short hair back in the day, and I wore like Nike and trainers and whatever. And I saw that, and I said, I want hair like that. I asked the hairdresser, he said he could do it. And 2 years later, I had that hair. and I modeled some of the facial expressions, and I even had, a similar jacket to him. And I modeled Colin Farrell and other people in different ways. And I had a lot of nervous tics and bad mannerisms, and I eradicated them slowly over time. And I just became very aware of my body and looking around at other guys in a bar, for example. I think something that differentiates me is my lack of shitty body language features and mannerisms and whatever else. And it comes from that.
Right. In communication, people talk about sensory acuity and seeing how other people are responding, and this is more
actors are good at that as well,
which is incredibly important.
They really feed off the other people. They need to
right. Well, yeah, like in improv, for example, right, when you're very tuned into what someone else is doing, so you can respond. But at the same, so you need that kind of sensory acuity, but then you need that self-awareness to know in any moment exactly where your body is, like you were saying, how fast or slow you're talking.
NLP as well, I did, didn't I? So you got to look at someone so carefully that you're seeing like the vein in their neck pulse, or if they're crossing their legs, their leg kind of moves a tiny bit, and that's their heart rate, or their pupils, and all of these tells that normally just are unconscious, so the other person can't control it, and we don't normally pay attention to it. And doing some stupid NLP courses that I didn't generally like, but I just got very into focusing on other people and seeing these tells.
Right, and when you're focused on someone else, that's the process of doing that takes you out of your own head and makes you more...
Which is good in general.
Right, it makes you more in the world, and you can actually deal with what's going on versus dealing the 47 things that you're thinking about, and am I doing my 33% teasing, and then just to I guess pull out my takeaways from what you just said. You modeled people who were attractive and cool, and again, just
and who have done a whole lot of work on themselves.
Yeah,
because you watch the first Brad Pitt film. He has a stupid voice. He's a good-looking guy, right? He's like a California beach guy with cool muscles and stuff. But he was a dweeb in other respects. And if you compare him to like Ocean's 11 or something, where he's just super cool.
Or how about him in Fight Club when he's like just 100% cool at all times?
He did so much work on himself, like his walk, his voice, everything. You compare those. Same with Tom Cruise and a lot of those people. They did so much work on. I mean, Tom Cruise is mental, whatever he is, but he's always the cool guy in his movies. And he used to be the biggest heartthrob. And I'm an older guy, so I was more looking at those guys. And I guess now it would be I like Jake Gyllenhaal in Prisoners. I like the guy in Mad Men. I like, of course, Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark, Iron Man and Batman. I don't like Grey in 50 Shades of Grey. I think he's lame. But, many examples now of different role models.
Something that...
He's a chump, by the way. If you watch 50 Shades of Grey, I mean, try acting like that in the real world. You get dumped in seconds, even by an ugly woman, like, or not especially attractive woman like she is in the movie.
Something that you... kind of like a presupposition of what you're saying is that... Well, here, I'll back up. I think a lot of guys think that people are the way they are. People think they are the way they are, and other people are the way they are. And it's almost like, just that understanding that, for example, just because Brad Pitt's acting cool now, it doesn't mean he was always like that. And there's kind of like, people think, well, I'm doing all this work on myself, but no one else has done any of this. Or everyone was born the way they are, but I'm trying to consciously change it. And just that understanding that A, change is possible, and B, how other people are isn't necessarily how they always were.
Yeah.
And when you're interacting with some cool person, you don't know what they used to be like.
Mhm.
But I just think it's a little trick that our brains play on ourselves, and you kind of had you have that awareness of the incredible range through time that people can have if they adapt kind of this actor's mindset, this idea that everything you're doing um, can be modified and
Yeah, and look at these guys are the most attractive guys on the planet.
Mhm.
They're the guys that all the women want. All the women want Robert Downey Jr. He's not so special, you know. He's not very tall. It's this role that he plays. It's this cool persona that he's created that he now uses in all his movies. It's the same one in all his movies. I watched this movie, The Judge. You know, he's a lawyer. Okay, he's the same again as he is in Iron Man. You know, great. And he's in Sherlock Holmes. Okay, what is he? He's a fast talking, but it's the same again, same character. And he's 50 years old, I think. But he's a teenager's heartthrob.
Right.
And look at David Beckham. He was such a dunce when he was. You watch his interviews when he was 20 years old, playing for Manchester United football, and he's like, I don't know. And he's this good-looking guy with this loser persona, and so he's not especially attractive. And then he actually did so much modeling and stuff. He learned how to control his facial expressions and things, and how to look cool on camera. And now he's walking and he's like this, and he's a fashion icon, and he's on the billboards for H&M or whatever it is now, and he's making tons of money just because there are lots of guys that are as good looking as him, but he's learned how to be cool as well, unlike a lot of footballers who just retire and they're finished. But he's got this brand now, and it's because he figured it out. And yeah, it's good to, if you can do it too, it's not hard.
Mm-hmm. And again, this comes back to something we've talked about a lot, which is don't make your aspiration to be as cool as a pickup artist.
No, they're not cool.
Right. And it's even and this
They're
isn't
embarrassing.
right.
We know a lot, right? We've gone out and we've met like famous pickup artists, and we're like, oh my god, this guy's so embarrassed. I would not introduce him to anyone I know.
Right. And this isn't meant as a nag or a tease or a slight on you, but like, would you be wrong in telling guys to not even model you? Model the guys that you modeled. Look at the like.
Well, I would be flattered, but yeah, you should always go to the source, right? And find your own thing that appeals to you. So the guys that I model, they're a bit out of date. And when I was doing that, maybe Leonardo DiCaprio was still a bit of a gaylord, you know, from Titanic, where he's this little boy like this, but now he's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's an actor who you look a little bit like, right? So, you know, find someone who you could. I didn't look anything like Tom Cruise. My old picture is on like my Facebook, and guys see that like, what? And you compare that. I didn't look anything like Tom Cruise, but I was this guy, and I was like, well, who could I kind of 1% look like? Okay, maybe I'll try Tom Cruise. So find someone that appeals to you, and also that you admire, and you really do think is cool, and then you would be happy to try and model them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, well, I know you have to. I know you've got an event to attend or something, so I will cut us off here.
Cool. We had two completely different subjects though. We went off topic, but it's still good at the end, I think.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks for having me on this one, and I'm looking forward to doing it again soon.
Nice one. As always, guys, thanks for watching right to the end, especially if you watched all of the previous episodes. And as usual, you'll have a space to write your comments. Be interested to read not only what you think, but also where you'd like us to take our future conversations. You see that we go really in depth, so try and give us some themes rather than specific questions about, you know, what to do in the gym if the girl's on the treadmill or something. See you soon, guys. Thanks again, and we'll be in touch. Bye.